In this video, I'm going to talk you through the report template that I would like you to use to write up your information literacy and conclusions report on the research you've been doing. So the document is this one, InfoLit Report Template. It's going to be in today's classroom post, Friday the 20th of September. And you'll notice the first page has a how to use this document. Some of this text is examples or guiding. It's meant to be replaced with your own headings, information and writing. That text is in green, so I'll pop down. Here's an example. You will write a report title. That's in green. You change this to your own report title. Some of the text is instructions telling you what to do. You need to delete this once you have followed the instruction. That text is going to be in blue. So here's some instructions here. So these instructions tell you how you might create a title. This instruction tells you how you might develop your hypothesis. This instruction tells you some things you might include in your introduction. There is text in black. You can add it, leave it, delete it, change it. That's up to you. The first thing you want to do is change the name of your report up here. So you'll be changing it to your first name, or your name, World War II research, and title. So you go, for example, Glenn Stewart, World War II research, and then add the title of your report. And then once you've completed, this whole page needs to be deleted. I don't want to see that at the top of anyone's report. I want to see your title and maybe a snazzy picture. So let's look at the structure. The structure of your report will include the title, perhaps a hypothesis, which is when you developed your questions, what did you think you'd find out? What did you expect? This can be talked about in your conclusion as well. You might refer back to your hypothesis and say, I expected this, but in the end I saw that. Your introduction. This will probably be one of the last things you write, except for your thesis. So I've given an example thesis that relates to my topic of inquiry. It is, rather than helping create a Pan-Asian community, the Japanese invasion of Indonesia instead resulted in, whatever the effect was, a fact that extends to this day. So in here that's called a placeholder. After I've finished my report, I will come in and add maybe 3 or 4 or 5 effects that I want to talk about in my report. At the moment, it's just going to stay like that. This is why I think the introduction should come later. This is either a section or a paragraph. I've got heading number 1. In heading number 1, I'm probably going to use my focus questions to help me with my heading. Where do I find my focus questions? I'm going to go down to my "17th of August classroom post and open up my Radar Inquiry Network. You might need to click open to open yours. When I open up my Radar Inquiry Net framework, it's going to show me my main question and my sub-questions that I will be using to frame my report. So, as an example, questions 2 and 3. Did the Balinese prepare in any way for the Japanese invasion? Did they put up a fight or concede diplomatically? I might put that under one section called preparation or during the war. I haven't decided yet. In your paragraph, point, explanation, evidence or example, further explanations, more evidence and examples, and a link to your main question. You need to make sure that you answer the focus questions you've set. Include information from at least one perspective. So, for example, you might have a perspective of some Jews and perhaps a perspective of some Nazis, or a perspective of some Japanese people and the perspective of some Indonesians. You need to use sentence starters that show your opinion or your judgment of the perspective presented. Sentence starters. What do I mean? Well, I'll show you shortly when we open up the paragraph writing guide up here. You want to give some reasons for why you agree or disagree with this perspective, and connect widely to your experiences, observations, and wider reading. This is where the conclusions will start to come in. Lastly, you must make sure you include citations. You see a little 1 here. To get that in there, I had to insert a footnote. You'll notice that it moves the cursor down here, and then I type in where my citation came from. Brooks, Allen, 1945, The Real Story of World War II, for example. How about that for this one? So you can make as many of these heading sections as you need in order to answer your report. And the last thing you'll do is write your conclusion. Should be about as long as your body paragraph. You restate your thesis, restate your points, state why it's important, and you might also like to use the conclusion doc that we worked on Monday, the 23rd, 24th perhaps? Okay, let's take a look at the paragraph writing guide. Here we go. Okay. So this breaks down how to construct a peel paragraph. Most of you guys should know this by now, but this is going to be a higher level of development. It has the what. What is the point? What is the evidence? What is the explanation? What is the link? What does that mean? It also has a why. Why do we need to make a point? Why do we need to add evidence? Why do we need an explanation? Why do we need a link? I've got a how. Here are some sentence starters. Arguably, in contrast, similarly, we can use these sentence starters to begin our paragraph, especially when you're linking it to the previous paragraph. So an in contrast paragraph beginning would follow on from one paragraph, and you want to talk about the opposite perspective of things. Evidence, facts, published opinions, research from books, journal articles, and websites. Or you might find your facts in your research table, where you've been recording your sources, recording your facts, talking about how it's useful, and evaluating that data. So that's what that table's for. Also, we'll be looking at what you need to do to make a good explanation and what you need to do to make a good link. And here are some extra thinking points. Down here, another bunch of useful sentence starters, however, rather in contrast, in particular in relation to, more specifically. Use these carefully and use them accurately. So you don't have to use this exact structure to compose your report, but I think it will make life a lot easier. If you have any questions about using it, or you've already started writing somewhere else, that's fine. The important thing for me is please don't do it on a slideshow this time. It'd be much better to have an actual written report. Okay, any questions, you can come see me.